chérie, le beau Paris.
Hello and welcome to Paris Set Me Free mini photo tutorials. Now this is a picture of a tree, a very nice tree. I think it's a plane tree which has the characteristic of shedding its bark all the time practically, which means it gets rid of all the nasty city pollution which Paris has lots of. It's also typically Parisian because you have these grills around the bottom, which Parisians like to let their doggies do caca and pee-pee in. And you can also see it's a favourite collecting place for old beer cans. Not mine this time. And look what's happened here. This thing has come out. I mean, it should be here. It should be a perfect circle, perfect hoop, and it's here. Now, one does wonder how it moved, because these things are rather heavy. I don't see too many people, spending their afternoons on a sunny Sunday dragging these things to one side. So it's kind of intriguing. Maybe a car pull. I don't know. Well, there you go. It's a mystery. It's one of those enigmas, Parisian enigmas, folks. And it also makes things a little bit more interesting for our photography, because if it were round, you could fit it nicely in here as a nice round thing here, but this gives it an edge. I mean, doubly speaking, it gives it an edge here which didn't exist, and it also gives this photo an edge over a photograph where it was a perfect round structure, because it's different, and this juts out into the foreground, which means foreground interest. And we're always looking for foreground interest, people, and there it is, this rather odd arrangement of these things. But that's not enough, of course. You've got the tree, the good solid Parisian tree which lines all the avenues, but you've got a space here. And I can tell you, and you can probably imagine, that I stood here for quite a while waiting for something to fill this space, because otherwise it would just be a picture of a tree and an empty road. Now, I can tell you, bikes went past, people with dogs went past, cars went past, and this little green van went past. And I decided in the end to go with the little green van. Why? Well, for a couple of reasons. One is, in terms of colour in this photograph, you've only got green. You can't really call this a colour. This is so pale here on the houses, it's not worth talking about. This is almost the same colour as the whited out sky. This is grey, this is grey. Bits of brown, but not particularly prominent. But you've got green, green, and green. So when this little green van came, which I also happened to shoot perfectly placed. Oh, and look, you've got a green traffic light. Might not seem much to you, but these things matter to me, people. So add all those things together. It actually looks like the traffic light's sitting in the back of the van. And also this beer can's a bit green. Sorry, I'm getting carried away here on a theme. So, and the good old rule of thirds, which once you know it, you can happily break it. But having said that, it often works. Put things of interest either in if you drew a line here and here, and a line here and here. If you put things at the intersection of those lines, here, 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 or here, it can often be a nice balance. So here it is. It's an item of intense interest in terms of this photograph, because it's very detailed. It's a clear object. There's people in it, and so on. Whereas this is much vaguer, but it's much bigger. So there's a balance there between these two. This is bottom left. This is top right. And quite apart from that, what else is there to say about this photograph? There's this post here, which I did not chop off. It leans slightly out towards the edge here, which is pleasing. You can see I've tilted it. This isn't a hill, it's me tilting the photograph. The tree didn't grow at this angle because I like to tilt things. I do believe I like angles, and there aren't many angles unless you create them yourselves in relation to the edge of the photograph. So that's what I do. to give dynamic photographs. I don't care if my buildings are leaning over. I'm not photographing reality. I'm photographing art, or I'm creating art. If I want my buildings to lean they will, and so should yours. Indeed, look, this post leans slightly out, and the tree line leans slightly in, so you've got a V, and I find that pleasing for some reason or other. The lamppost is also, the traffic light is also leaning out. In terms of processing, we've actually been looking at the pre-processed one. Let me flick over to the final version. There it is. You can see it's a little bit bigger. In other words, I've cropped. It's a little bit brighter, and it's also a little bit harsher. So I've harshened it up to make it a bit more popping out at you, which is my style in any case, moving slightly away from reality. Maybe the colours are saturated a bit as well, because to be honest, sometimes a Parisian street scene can be extremely boring unless you do something with it. As I repeat, not meaning to bore you, but just meaning to remind you that you should have a photographic goal, some sort of coherency to your photographs. Mine happens to be on the theme of anything I find interesting in Paris, to create something which hovers somewhere between photographic reality and a painting. Sometimes it goes far more towards a painting, sometimes it's not far from reality at all, depending on the subject and depending on what I want to do. But I'm never looking to capture reality as it is without having added something. Otherwise, I don't consider that photographic art. That's simply reporting or making a literal record. Depends what you're into, up to you. But the thing is to have a theme. I think that's an important thing. I almost forgot, and I'm glad I remembered because it was one of the main reasons I chose this and I liked it. This little van here is a Parisian van for people who go around tidying up the city and looking after the streets. And down here are a couple of beer cans who these people might very well pick up. Little green guys in little green uniforms picking up little green beer cans is a reasonably common sight in Paris. So there's another parallel for you. I think that's all I've got to say on that one. Thanks for listening, and as always, do check out the blog for a higher version of this photo. You'll find it on parissetmefree.blogspot.com, August 2008. Thanks for listening.
Depuis que je suis à Paris, le jour et la nuit, je suis gris. J'ai compris la douceur de vivre. Je suis fou de joie, je suis ivre. Depuis que je suis à Paris.